Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of CIES Talks, the series where we bring you all the insightful conversations on everything that is sports related with all the people who bring to you your favorite sports in real life. CIES Talks is brought to you by the International Center for Sports Studies, an independent sports study center in Neuchâtel, Switzerland. And they are the prestigious hosts of the FIFA Master, which has been named the best postgraduate program in sport in Europe for the 13th time by Sports Business Magazine. Just remember, the applications for the FIFA Master are now open, and if you're looking for information on the program as well as CIES, go to cies.ch. And also look at the link in the description below this video or point your smartphone towards the screen where you'll find your QR codes right now. I am Zarina Bahdur, a sports business consultant based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I am a proud alumnus of the FIFA Master, and I am currently on the FIFA Master Committee as well. Today, I am joined by Gonçalo Almeida, a sports lawyer who is the founding partner of Almeida Associados, and currently a judge on the Agents Committee, or the Agents Chamber, of the FIFA Football Tribunal. Gonçalo is also a FIFA Master alumnus, starting the FIFA Master in the very first edition back in 2000 and 2001. And he has represented players, coaches, clubs, and agents in all football international matters for the last 2 decades. He is also a teacher and contributes to sports law education. So, Gonçalo, welcome to the CIES Talks. Thank you for your time.
Hi, Zarina. Hi, everyone. First of all, I would like, obviously, to say thanks for the kind invitation. It's a pleasure and an honor to be part of this, to participate in this CIES Talks. So I'm very, very pleased to be here.
Thank you so much. I know you're really busy, so you making the time is really important to us. Let's just get down into it, right? Did you ever imagine that 10 or 15-year-old Gonçalo Almeida would be working in sports and sports law at all?
Yeah, well, actually, that's a very good question, because I was just, when I graduated from university, and then I joined the Portuguese Bar Association. I was very uncertain about which areas of practice I would follow, because I didn't want to work in very conservative areas such as labor or family law, criminal law. So I wanted to do something different. And at the time, back in the year 2000 or 1999, when I came across with this the FIFA Master, when it was first published, when it was first announced, I thought this would be a great opportunity, because I love sports. I've always loved sports in general, not only football, of course, but other sports. And it would make sense. It would be a privilege to work doing something that you really love, So working with sports law, the moment I joined the FIFA Master back in the year 2000, yes, from that point onwards, it became my priority.
Amazing. So was the FIFA Master something that you can say just encapsulated that and just kind of pushed you forward into that space?
Well, the FIFA Master in those days, in the early days, we were the guinea pigs. We didn't know much about it. The way it was promoted was very, very short information was provided to the candidates. We didn't know much what to expect, but we knew that the opportunity to study abroad in 3 different universities, top universities, by the way, getting to know people from other countries with different cultures, different backgrounds, it would be extremely enriching. At least, as an experience, even if it wouldn't work out at a professional level later on. It did. Ended up that the vast majority of the participants in the first edition became, entered into the sports market. And I think still a vast majority nowadays is working in the sports market. So the FIFA Master at the end was the door to enter into the sports market, for sure. Yeah.
Lovely. How was your personal experience? I mean, you obviously got to, it was the first edition, like you said, and you were given this promise of visiting these 3 countries and all these things that you mentioned, about going and visiting the different entities and things like that. So from your experience, what stands out the most for you?
Well, definitely the opportunity to get to know, as I've said previously, people from different backgrounds. 25 years ago, things were different 25 years ago, obviously. I didn't travel that much. I didn't know the world that much. So for me, it was a privilege to get to know people from so many different jurisdictions. I have, nowadays, I still keep friends from Kazakhstan, from Rwanda, from Sierra Leone, from Brazil, and the opportunity to understand their culture, the way their countries were developed or underdeveloped. This was extremely enriching to get to know the people, to exchange ideas about the reality. For instance, of course, sports was always one of our main priorities. We were always very interested to get to know how things were developed in this country or in that country, to which extent. And that honestly, that made the difference. It was so enriching to learn from different cultures, from people with a completely different background. Even, my background is law, of course, as I've mentioned, but there are people from marketing, economy, so many backgrounds, different backgrounds, which in a way they complemented each other. We would learn from each other, and this was the extremely enriching part of the master. Of course, if you ask me, the opportunity we had, especially in England, but not only. But I remember very lively the times that we've spent in Leicester and all over England. We visited so many sports entities. To get to be there in person, that was also a fantastic experience.
Lovely. I can confirm that hasn't changed in all that time. I had the same experience. So that has progressed very nicely.
Good to know.
From your perspective, obviously you interact a lot with, FIFA Master alumni across the world in different, different roles, like you mentioned. And you obviously being the first cohort, and now 25 years later, what do you think, has contributed, and how's the community that has grown over this time helped you in terms of your progress since then?
Well, I think the FIFA Masters community is a big advantage for everyone inside, and also for those. I get contacts from people want to apply for the FIFA Master, and most of these people are undecided about whether they should go for the FIFA Master or other scholarship programs. And I always advise them to go for the FIFA Master. If you want to enter into the sports market, go for the FIFA Master. This is number one. Otherwise, you'll make an investment, but it's not the real one. if you're making an effort, might as well go for the FIFA Master, which is the best. And I think one of the things that I underline when I'm talking about the FIFA Master is the community, because we're talking about, I don't know how many people in nowadays, maybe 600 or 700 people, I don't know, or nearly, from all around the world, literally from all around the world. So, I mean, last year I was in Japan. I met at least 2 colleagues from the FIFA Master. One is a good friend. He's from China, but he's living in Japan. Every time I go to Brazil, we get around. I mean, the people from the FIFA Masters, like a lot of them, and the exchange of contacts, the networking, and also the assistance that we get from our colleagues in other jurisdictions. This is extremely helpful. Not to mention the personal side of the story. Of course, it's a pleasure to meet old friends and to get to know new ones every time that there's a gathering. So the way I see it is it's extremely helpful, and it's a big advantage for the master.
Beautiful. Okay, so now let's move into your career, right? You went through the FIFA Master. You decided sports law is the way to go. How did you make this transition into sports law after the master program?
Right. So when I concluded the master, I was approached by FIFA because at the time the legal department, the well-known or the famous player status department, which is the legal department dealing with disputes between players, clubs, agents, coaches, national associations. Basically, it's the department that deals with football law, put it that way. Okay, and in those days, they at the time they needed 2 lawyers. So I was one of the 2 selected. So I believe that they selected me because of the language, to be entirely honest. Of course, my background as a lawyer, the fact that I concluded the FIFA Master in those days was a Master in Humanities, Management, and International Sports Law. And so I believe I was selected for my background, but mainly because my native language being Portuguese, it was, and taking into account the global Portuguese-speaking market, mainly Brazil, of course, Brazil, Portugal, then you have some countries in Africa. I mean, it was there was a need to have a Portuguese native speaking. So I was selected, and I stayed there for nearly 5 years. Okay, at the player status department, working in Zurich. It was a fantastic experience, very, very enriching at a personal and professional level. And this is how I started working directly in the sports field. Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, I mean, you do the work, and eventually the opportunities do come, right? You are now a judge on the Agents Chamber of the FIFA Football Tribunal. How involved are you, and what's your day-to-day like with the Football Tribunal?
Well, again, to be entirely honest, it's important to clarify that the Agents Chamber of the FIFA Football Tribunal in nowadays is suspended. So there's no activity in nowadays. This is due to the fact that new regulations over the agents' activity were implemented in beginning of 2023, so nearly 3 years ago, and there was the agents were not that satisfied about the outcome of these new regulations, particularly with regard to their commissions. There was a limit, this cap, remuneration caps, which were implemented by these new regulations. Apart from other several points which were disputed by the agents. They were not satisfied at all with these new regulations, which led them to file lawsuits before several courts around the world. So this happened in Switzerland, happened in Germany, England, Brazil, and so on and so on. And at the end, some months later, FIFA was basically forced. Well, I would say yes. Force is it's the right word, but also FIFA demonstrated very good sense by suspending the regulations, because it could not implement the regulations in certain jurisdictions or in some jurisdictions and failed to do that in other jurisdictions where these lawsuits were filed and where the courts actually suspended the regulations. So there was a need to have an equal treatment all around the world throughout the 211 member associations. So they were suspended, the regulations, and as a consequence, the agents chamber, so which is the chamber which would decide upon disputes involving football agents and their clients, meaning players, coaches, clubs, associations, and leagues. The agents chamber was suspended. So basically, throughout these last 2 years, we've had a few conversations with FIFA. We had the opportunity to have a couple of seminars, but in terms of concrete cases to decide, we still haven't got there. So we're waiting for the new regulations to be implemented. We're waiting for the result of the negotiations between FIFA and the agents association, so to see if when the new regulations will come up and when they will come into force, so that we can start working finally.
So in the interim, when there are issues going on between agents and players or clubs, what's the process that's in place?
Well, Zarina, that's an excellent question. That's what everyone asks me, especially clients and others who have disputes pending, who need to have certain disputes solved, and they're asking me, so what should we do now? I mean, can we revert to FIFA? No, the chamber, the agents chamber is suspended. The regulations are suspended. So for the time being, until we meet the new regulations, hopefully soon, next year, hopefully, FIFA has no jurisdiction to intervene and decide upon your dispute. That, hey, so I have this commission to collect, or this client has unilaterally terminated our representation agreement without any valid reason, and I want to file a claim against him. What can I do? And the answer, unfortunately, is that you have two options. Either in the representation agreement, you have established that in case of dispute, you would revert to an arbitration court, and then you go to that arbitration court, which could be CAS, the Court of Arbitration for Sports in Lausanne, for instance, which is the most popular one, but there's others in many other jurisdictions. Or if that's not the case, if you don't have an arbitration clause in the contract, in the representation agreement, then you should revert to ordinary courts, in your own country, or whenever or wherever you think it's legally advisable to do. And this is a problem, absolutely, Zarina, because let's see, if the FIFA Football Tribunal, the Asian Chamber, would be working, then you would have people specialized in this, in sports law. You know, not only they're specialized in sports law because they deal with these sort of disputes on a daily basis, but also it's a very swift procedure, and it's free of charge. So, I mean, there's only advantages on going to before the FIFA Football Tribunal. And on top of that, once you have a decision, of course, it's appealable. You can appeal to CIES, but then you can enforce it via the FIFA Disciplinary Committee, meaning that if someone is sentenced to pay X to someone else, and he or she doesn't do that, then he or she can suffer disciplinary sanctions, you know, and at the end they will end up, you know, paying or canceling the debt. Whereas if you don't have the FIFA Football Tribunal working, which is for the Asian Chamber, which is the case for the Asian Chamber, then you need to and you don't have an arbitration clause, you know, reverting to, let's say, as I mentioned, CIES, then in that case you need to revert to the ordinary courts. Let's say in Portugal, where it takes 2 years, 3 years to get a decision, or in Brazil, where it can take 6 years or 8 years, or you can take it to Turkey, where it can take, I don't know how many years, you know. And on top of that, you're going to have the uncertainty because the people who are deciding about it, they don't know sports law. I mean, with all due respect, few exceptions may understand a bit of sports law, but most of the judges in ordinary countries, in ordinary courts, they don't study sports law. So it's really hard to pass the message to someone who doesn't understand, you know, the entire picture. For instance, I had a case like 6 months or 8 months ago before an ordinary court here in Lisbon. And we're talking about an agent claiming a commission of around 3.5 million euros, okay? And the judge, this lady, she didn't know anything about football. And she started the hearing saying, you know, addressing the counsels, and she said, "Gentlemen, you'll have to excuse me, but I don't understand football. And by the way, I don't even like it. I don't follow it. And you'll have to help me, you know." And for her, it was extremely difficult to explain that a commission of 3.5 million was actually something that was under, you know, the standards, the normal standards in high professional football, you know, because we're talking about 10% of a business, a big deal. This is difficult to pass, you know, difficult.
Yeah.
Try to take a decision over an area that you completely ignore, that you have no clue how the industry works. And the speciality of the sports industry, it is of paramount importance for someone to decide upon, okay? So, again, if you have an issue claiming a commission, for example, in nowadays, you would have to revert to an arbitration court or to the common courts, which, on top of everything, are also expensive.
Yeah, I think you basically said it there. Like, sports is such a special industry, and people have to have the knowledge of what it's all about in order to make it work functionally for all the stakeholders, 100%. And I think, you know, that's kind of taken for granted. So you raise this very valid point there. Okay, moving away from that side of things a little bit, you've got your own firm, and you're obviously working in the international space. So what was the motivation to start your own firm?
Well, that was a plan I had drawn for a long time already. I was still in high school, and I wanted to become a lawyer and have my own law firm. I honestly think that I didn't want to work for someone else. That was my first conclusion. I want to build something out of my own, and the firm became a natural consequence of my background after the FIFA Master and spending nearly 5 years in Zurich. So with all the network that I had achieved, the know-how that I acquired throughout those 6 years, 1 year FIFA Master and 5 years at the Player Status Department, it was only a natural consequence for me to become independent and start my own law firm. At the beginning was, and I think it still is. I think actually it's becoming more and more difficult as time passes because there's more competition. The market, the sports market is considerably, and the the legal side of it as well, naturally. So in my days, we were just a few working specialized in sports law. Okay, whereas in nowadays, for instance, I mean, we have hundreds of good sports lawyers. Most of them lacking the experience, the daily basis experience, but nevertheless having here and there some contact and the theory, they know it by heart. So, which makes it nowadays more difficult to follow these paths of starting your own law firm and be able to afford it, because it is difficult. Even for me in the beginning, when you start a project, starting your own law firm or your own company, whatever the wherever the area is, the truth is that it takes time for you to reach some stability, for the income to arrive, and for you to breathe. So it was hard. It was very hard at the beginning. Don't think it was easy going. It was not easy going. I went through a lot of dire straits. I had to work very hard throughout many years. Today, things are, at another level. My law firm has it makes 19 years next year, next February. So we're about 30 people working. 30 lawyers is already a considerable size for Portuguese standards, put it that way. Of course, if you go back to the US or even Brazil, it's a joke. But here, the biggest law firms, they're about 150 lawyers. So we're like middle size, but we're very happy about the way we're growing, stability, consistent, and and happy to do what we do, which is very, I would say.
Yeah, no, congratulations. I mean, 19 years, obviously, getting something started in itself is a mission. Like you said, a lot of hard work and dedication. So this is a massive achievement. Congratulations, and may just keep getting stronger.
Thank you. But may I say something, Zarina?
Yes.
May I add something? I believe if I'm not going to become like enter into the philosophical side of the story, but I do believe if you have a dream, you should go for it. That was my dream, to become independent, to have my own baby firm, make it grow and and take the best out of it at all levels, personal satisfaction, professional satisfaction, financial satisfaction, and I think we shouldn't give up. I mean, it's hard. It's always hard. I see the new, and this is not a criticism because I'm a father, and I mean, the new generations are also a product of their parents. But because I know there's good things and bad things. One of the bad things, the way I see it for the youngest generation, is that after a few years they already want to be in charge. But you need to give time. You need to work hard, to learn, to suffer in a constructive manner, and then embrace, the project, whatever it is. And because by then, and only by then, you'll be competent enough to be the leader. You can't be director or whatever, supervisor of whatever it is, at the age of 20 something. You can't. You're lacking the daily basis, the experience. It's very important. When I was 30, I thought, well, I know a lot. When I was 40, I thought, well, comparing 10 years ago, I know much more. Now that I'm 50, I think I knew too little when I was 40, And this is going to be always like this. So experience, when we grow up, we go older, we get older, we realize how important it is, and I think you should first dedicate yourself, work a lot, don't give up on your dreams, but then when you're ready, then go for it. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, everything worthwhile definitely takes hard work and it takes ambition.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you totally. What lessons have you learned, working internationally and locally? You get to do a lot of cross-border type of stuff. You're obviously saying you work a lot with Brazil as well. So, there must be some very valuable lessons that you can impart with us.
Well, there's always lessons when you step out of home. You start learning and seeing new things. So you constantly learn, definitely. But the fact that the opportunity to work at an international level, I think you grow up faster, because when you travel, you get in contact with different cultures, different people, different backgrounds, different history, different even in terms of food, the smells, all senses are. It's just different, and it's so enriching. I mean, you learn so many things when you travel and when you contact with people from other countries. It is funny due to this difference of cultures. For instance, if you're negotiating, whatever you're negotiating, but since we're talking about sports law, sometimes we are negotiating. I don't do the agency. Obviously, I can't be an agent, and I never wanted to be an agent. I have no flexibility whatsoever to be a babysitter. I hate being babysitters. Players are usually very spoiled people, nice or not, but generally spoiled, because I mean, it is what it is. Everyone is chasing them. They feel like gods. I mean, when we're talking about the high level, and I have no sort of feelings for being a babysitter. But when you're negotiating a contract and you come to a certain figure, well, no, I'll give you a better example. It also happens in that sense. But as a lawyer, when we're negotiating our legal fees, for instance, this is even a better example. And you are working with a Brazilian client, you should expect that this client is going to ask to pay your fees in paid in few installments, because it's culturally what happens in Brazil. They're used to pay everything in installments due to inflation. Whereas if you're gonna be negotiating your fees with something with someone or a club from let's say Saudi Arabia, they are gonna ask for a discount, not to pay in installments, to get a discount, you know. And some cultures, it is already expected that you give at least 10% discount. So if you're going to negotiate with a certain culture, might as well raise 10% in the beginning and give it a discount, because it is like a way of saying it's like a small gift, you know, that you're giving to the client. It's like a matter of courtesy, you know, cultural differences. You know, this is very important also from a negotiable perspective. And you only acquire this perspective, this worldwide perspective, when you're traveling and get in contact with others from around the world.
Okay, so we're almost done. We are quickly going to talk about you teaching, and I see that you are involved in lecturing sports law. How did you make that decision to move into that space?
It became natural. I actually wasn't my decision. I was invited by this university and that university. And nowadays, CIES also kindly invites me to teach a bit around the world. I've been to Venezuela, Brazil, Poland, UAE. Well, I actually gave a lesson to since you're from South Africa, to the Mandela University, online. And I enjoy it a lot. You know, it's a privilege. It's another privilege. It's like a perk, you know, for me, because the opportunity. I wouldn't call it to teach. I would say the opportunity to exchange knowledge. You know, between you as the professor and the students, the exchange of ideas, of knowledge. It's again another opportunity to evolve. So I find it extremely attractive. I mean, they pay me for it, but I would do it for free. To be honest.
Awesome. Let's not tell CIES that, just in case.
No.
Okay, what skills do you think young lawyers or sports lawyers specifically require to enter the industry now?
Well, going back in our conversation, you need to have your mind open, you know. If you're not ready to deal with people with different cultures, if you're going to be strict and 100% strict, you won't go far. You won't go far. You need to be flexible. You need to adapt, you know. And for that, you need to have an open mind. And of course, hardworking, have good skills, human skills, you know, to deal with other people. I think this is, I would say, well, if you're not hardworking, you won't get anywhere unless you have a certain godfather, you know, which happens every now and then, as we all know, more frequently than we wish, to be honest. But I think the biggest quality you need are human qualities, you know, to deal with other people, you know, to understand, to listen, to try to adapt, to try to put yourself in others' position. And then, of course, study, work, and you'll get there. It takes time, and at the end, it pays.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, when we think law, I think I'm probably guilty of this as well. It's like, well, I need to read a lot, and it's a lot of thick books, initially in your undergrad when you look at it. And I think a lot of people I've met over the years have been like, yes, I want to do law, but then I look at the books and I need to memorize things, and suddenly I'm like, well, no. So to those people, like, what would you say it should be the driving force behind that? Like, do you just look at the books and then run away, or do you like literally need to be passionate about the law? Is that something that you think comes to you as you get older, or is it something that's just like an inherent part of your personality?
Well, you shouldn't run away from your dreams just because you have obstacles. I mean, you're going to be facing obstacles. Either it's because you have to read a lot, or because you have to travel a lot, or because you have to work until late. I mean, this is part of the game. You're going to be facing obstacles, these or that, doesn't matter. So if this is necessary to reach your dream, then go for it. Study. Others do it. Why can't you do it? Are you better than others, or are you worse than others? So if you're not, and you're not, you should go through the same process. Of course, this applies for people who really feel that they want to go for they want to practice law, because if you're not 100% sure about it, I mean, if you're not 100% sure about what you want to do, might as well don't do anything. Just have a common work. Profession, common professional. Don't get specialized. Don't invest your money in something that you're not sure about it. But if you're really confident that that is going to be your future, yeah, well, you have to make some efforts here and there. I wasn't a brilliant student by far. But the moment I concluded the FIFA Master and started working with sports law, I was so interested about sports, from a legal perspective, that I gladly read books and after books, and because I wanted to learn, and this is something that you realize later on at another stage in life, because when we conclude our college, we are not really sure what we're going to do afterwards. Okay. And what we've learned about, for instance, law, I mean, we've learned about so many areas of practice that you may go for this one or that one, but later on, when you're really in the labor market, when you're working, then you realize what you need to study is going to help you, or you realize that you actually love this area of law, in my case, and you want to do that during your life. And when you realize that, then reading books, instead of becoming a pain, it becomes a pleasure. Trust me.
Awesome. I think that's good advice, definitely. Last question. Do you like, who's your favorite sports club? Because you obviously work in sports. I imagine you are a sports fan.
Yes, I am a sports fan. I love football. I'm a football addicted, but I also love other sports. I did taekwondo for many years, many years, and boxing. Um, I also like swimming, like cycling, running. Yeah, I like sports in general. To be entirely
So you're
honest,
an all-rounder.
I go to the Olympic Games and I have so much fun. Honestly,
Nice.
I really enjoy the Olympic. Even some sports that I went to. I remember I was in London with some FIFA Master alumni. We had a great time, by the way. London 2012, something like that.
Yeah,
I
2012.
can't remember exactly. You'll have to excuse me. And I got some tickets for trampoline. When they're jumping in a trampoline, and I've never seen that sports before. Which hardly anyone has seen it lively. And I had such a great time. I honestly did. I enjoyed it, each moment. Not only because it was new, but because it was extremely interesting. The techniques,
Yeah.
Also, the Chinese athletes were amazing, absolutely amazing. So I do love sports in general. I can't say that I'm a football addicted. Period. No, I love football, but other sports are quite. And our law firm, we work a lot with the. Okay, futsal is not that different, but we work with basketball, handball. We work with boxing. What else? Dancing. Yeah, dancing.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's quite fascinating.
Oh no, this is amazing. This is awesome. I think you have a very cool story to tell, Gonçalo, and I am very grateful for that. Just before we sign off, do you have anything that you would like to add, for the future FIFA Master alum or people who want to move into sports? Basically, anybody in our audience. Do you have any last words for them?
Just saying that, just to say that it's a privilege to have concluded the FIFA Master. I wish I would have the opportunity to do it again, because I would learn so many things. I would have the opportunity to catch up on many areas that I don't work with, but that I have developed, as well as sports law, so much. And there is a connection between those areas. So, when it's like when you're working with football and trying to find the solution, but maybe the solution is already there in other sports, Like, for instance, what's going on with the refereeing in Portugal? I mean, if you look at rugby, perhaps we would have the right perspective to approach it. So it's, I guess I would love to have that opportunity to the FIFA Master again. And I'm sure that it will continue to be a major success all around the world.
I think you can put your application in, and let's see if we can get you into the Master again.
You never know.
Thank you so much for your time, Gonçalo. I myself am very inspired by everything that you said. I think I took a lot away from that as well. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zarina. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody, for your time. Thanks for joining CIES Talk with Gonçalo Almeida and myself, Zarina Bahdur. Remember, the FIFA Master applications are now open for the 27th edition. To apply, you just have to follow the link in the description of this video or point your smartphone to the QR code that is appearing on your screen now. We look forward to seeing you in the next session. Thank you all. Bye.